My name is Angie Lamar, and I am here with you again. Oh, what a week we've had. We've had a busy week, but we're back. Mother and daughters are talking. We're feeling fabulous. We've got so much to talk about. Let me introduce our wonderful host. We have my daughter, True Prosper. Say hi, True.
Hi everyone.
We have Jasmine Campbell,
Hi everyone.
and we have Kayla Campbell.
Hello.
Everybody's looking well, very poised and beautiful, and we love it, we love it, we love it. So this week, we're just going to go straight into it because last week we started talking about relationship, and we literally just had to stop because it just felt like, you know what? We have a lot to say. We have the older generations, the ladies in their 50s, and the girls in their 20s. We come to a point when we want to talk about how you guys are having your relationships and how we had our relationships, and working out whether or not we are doing something right, or if you're doing something right, and as the generations change, are we doing things differently? Is there anything that we can learn from each other? Because when we look at the relationship states right now, it's not looking very good, is it? Let's face it, ladies.
No.
Yes, it's Kayla and True. Like, is it? What's it looking like?
Yeah.
Go on, True.
It's looking like a free-for-all. If you can get yours, hold yours tight. Good luck if you can't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what about you, Kayla? What do you think? Because it's a lot, isn't it?
No.
Yeah, I think so. Also, I think I think what we've lost is the concept of age and time. Now we have social media and we can see 35-year-olds with their life fully put together, and 20-year-olds are looking at it thinking, well, my life should be fully put together. When actually you're still at uni or you've just left school, it's unrealistic to hold yourself to that standard. So I think that's where we kind of see, well, if he doesn't take me to the shower on the first date, then that's it. Or, yeah, I feel like that's where we see some of that breakdown. But I also think there's some really good things happening in relationships. We're more honest as a generation, I think. We're more upfront, we're more open to differences, different religions, different cultures, different formats of what a relationship should look like and gender roles. But I do think online dating has made it a lot harder to find genuine and build genuine relationships, especially past that like 3-month initial lust phase. And there's lots of lust, not much love, I'd say. But yeah.
Okay, so
Go on.
Jess, yeah, go Jess, because
No, I was going to say, would you say that's because of the kind of fast pace of social media, so that kind of drives people not being as, because I know I can talk for myself. In my day when I was younger, I kind of had a lot of kind of long-term relationships, right? And it was always about, there were some people in the camp where wouldn't have much long-term relationships, so like a month, 2 month, and then they'll be out of the relationship. And you had those that were in the camp where it was very much around, you kind of get to know someone, to your point, you get past that lust stage, and actually the conversations you're having are very true to you two as individuals, where you are in your life journey, right? And you didn't have as many external influences kind of imposing on that, or the peer pressure because your friend over there is telling you, they're doing so, they're exploring things in a different way because of the exposure you get from social media. So one thing that kind of with me, and kind of especially the relationship, including my beautiful marriage I'm in now, at the early days, it was very much about it wasn't like there was no expectation. I think we both knew we were serious and we wanted to be in a committed relationship, but that doesn't mean we were committing from day one. But we were both very honest with who we were and what we wanted out of life, what we wanted to aspire. And I think as we've gone through the 26, and even to this day, we are still having conversations because things evolve around what does that mean. So the kind of the growing together, that helps with the longevity of a relationship. I feel we have more because we didn't have those external factors influencing kind of how we were together in our relationship. So I guess for me, it's going back to that social media point that I made when we spoke about this, similar things before. Like, do you think that has something to do with the way the younger generation now emphasize or put emphasis on the relationships and that journey that they're on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Go on.
Go on, Kayla, go on.
For me, I think we touched on it a little bit at the end of last week. It's around positive role models individually, as do I have women that I look up to and can guide me on my own journey as a woman before I start engaging in relationships with whoever I want to engage in relationships with. Similarly for men. And then do I have positive relationship standards or goals in place? Because I think what's happening and why social media is quote unquote being blamed for what's happening in our generation is because actually we don't have good role models, whether it's within our communities, whether it's within the genders, whether it's within relationships as a whole, even friendships. I'd say I've seen lots of fake friendships too. It's because we're a bit lost and we've got this abundance of information and no one to really sense check and to gain your own perspective on things. And I feel like in order to be able to gain a perspective on something, you actually need to understand where you start from in the first place. You need to understand who you are, but you can't do that if no one is really around you to guide you and to direct you and to have a soundboard to say, do you know what, I'm feeling like this. And to be able to make a truly measured decision, I think you can't do that in isolation. You have to have a support network around you. And I think equally, those support networks help you through the relationships that you form. And I think we don't really have lots of that now.
Do you find that we as an older generation of women are sometimes trying to say to younger women, some of the things that you're doing is not going to work for you. But we can't actually say it like that, because if we say, don't sleep with that person, don't sleep with that person, the body count thing is not a great thing. Knowing what a man's size is or his bank account is not the way to build a relationship, because that's not what makes relationship. But personally, I feel like some of the young girls, young women, have closed off to us. They're not looking to, because if we say the wrong thing, we're judgmental, we're looking down on you, we're judging you, we're not being fair to you. So it makes us say, okay, well, until you ask for the information, and maybe we can't impose it on you.
Yeah.
You know?
And I feel like I think there's like this, maybe I could be wrong with this perspective, but I feel like there's been a lot of like immorality going around, but and not so much instilling values that the older generation held. So whilst we're all trying to be creating a new direction for the younger generation, opening up our own direction for where we want to go for our lives, we're also discarding what worked. So when we look at the new path that we set out for us, we're like, how comes we're not actually getting like fruitful relationships? Because we're not looking at what our parents endured, because we're looking at it from a negative perspective, finding out things like, oh, grandma actually wasn't really happy in her entire relationship, but she was. There were times where it was hard, like relationships are hard, but she didn't tell you that the whole sum of the relationship was down. And so I think people take the negative bit and they run with it and think, well, if that didn't work, I'm going to try something new. But the new stuff doesn't have credibility. Like there's no foundation behind it. So what we're all trying to figure out how to go down our own lane of relationships.
But for me, the transparency part is a big thing. Like I think we often say, oh, well, everyone kind of lives a different life. And we're seeing it in religion and the patterns with our generation. And lots of people are straying away from religion because we're saying, you know what, you get up every Sunday and you preach, but I know what's going on behind closed doors and I'm not going to listen to you. Because traditionally you would go to faith leaders, you would go to grandparents and parents, you would go to those people for guidance. But actually, I actually know now what's really going on because I can see your text messages. I'm helping you with your technology. So you can't really keep your private facade as you used to be able to do. And now you're coming to tell me that I can't do what I want to do. But your way's not working either. So I don't trust. Sorry, True, go on.
I feel like that might be an issue because good advice is good advice. That we just shoot the message all the time. So,
yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's exactly what's happening. We can't accept the truth or good advice because you're a hypocrite. But it's still good it's still sound advice. If I tell you to don't touch fire, because I burnt myself, and you say to me, but you touched fire, you burnt yourself. It's still good advice. Please don't touch the fire. You
Yeah,
know?
I agree.
I think when I was younger, I didn't have, like, I'm sitting here thinking, where did I go for advice on relationship? Because my mum didn't know I was in some, God help me. Mum didn't know I was in some of the relationships I was in at the ages I was in those relationships. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't. So I'm sitting here really just trying to think, like, where did I go to get guidance? And I think it brings me back to the point that Kayla raised and we've touched on previously around the importance of role models, the importance of other people, like just having a community or having people you can aspire to or you look up to. It might not necessarily be that person in your home. It might not be, you know, your parents. My mum was a single mum. My dad's never been around. I've just grown up with my mum. She's been very independent. She's shown me to be very independent to the point where even through my marriage, I've had to like really just check myself because I have a good, strong, reliable husband, and there's no need for me to be acting like I'm a single mother, right? You know, because it's a partnership and we should be doing that together. But the basis of, in terms of the foundation, I guess there is that bit around knowing self, knowing self, being confident in yourself, respecting yourself, being strong in yourself. And there is still an acknowledgement to make that some people haven't had that as through their parenting or through the elders in their community to actually have that self-belief and self-worth to navigate some of and kind of segregate the different things coming from all of the different noise coming wherever the noise is coming from, to be like, well, actually that's not right for me, or actually that advice is something I'm gonna follow.
So Jasmine, then, if your dad wasn't around and you in a strong marriage now, and they always say that if there's not a father figure around, that you'll choose relationships where the man is unavailable. So how did you make those judgments?
I think that was
the father.
I didn't make a judgment.
Okay.
I was very much when I met me and Tim started going out, and like I was always I'm not about being married, because to the point I was like, I've not seen a positive relationship growing up, whether people were together or not. I felt like there was always, to the points made earlier, things going on behind the scenes that didn't make me really, you know, want to like be striving to be in a marriage, in a marriage. And that wasn't that, it was I saw I just didn't think of it. My mum was single. She was very independent. She's been, you know, I spoke about her in terms of why I look up to her and what she's achieved. So I was like, you know what? That is the grounding I had that made me the person that I am, that I felt, you know what, if I end up being married down the line, great. But for me, that wasn't top of my priority list. Whereas for some people of my generation, it's kind of like you get a job, get a husband, start your family. There's a very prescribed kind of way of doing things, because that's how it's always done, and that's the advice you would give. Where for me, it was very different. So in the relationship, as I said, alluded to earlier, it's been a journey. Like we've had to learn, I've had to get that gain the trust. So there was definitely some trust elements, because I've not had that father figure or a male figure where I was like, oh, like what am I looking for? What am I benchmarking for? And also I think for Kayla and for Aaron, our son, it's really, I'm hoping, and Kayla, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's really great, because whilst we're still like it's a big thing, like we're good tenure in now, but when we're still trying to learn about each other, learn from different perspectives because of what I might not have had or seen or had access to when I was younger, and Tim being a father and me not actually having that father experience to kind of be confident in, actually, no, this is my view on what you know, how we should be kind of working with our children. There are things like that that have shown up. But I think I've never kind of thought, oh, there's a benchmark or anything. It's just really about, I want to make sure some of the things that I was missing or lacking when I was growing up, I can actually give that now. I've got a husband by my side to do that as we raise our children. And it's very much a learning experience.
Absolutely. So when I come to the younger generation, and I think there's certain traditions, like we'd meet a guy, we'd go out with him, he couldn't come around straight away. We had to kind of like sneak and see him, and and do little things, but you can't tell anyone, and you go to a club and you dance and you come back. And it was also quiet and also quite exciting as well. But now the relationships are, you've got to have this, you've got to have this, you've got to have this, and you've got to have this. But suppose you don't have that. Suppose you just meet a guy who doesn't have that. Is it still enough for you? Because when the girls are saying they've got to get my nails done, and if he can't give me money, give me money to go and get lunch.
That is the
pressure you're putting on yourself, isn't it? You're already
right. That is the point about peer pressure and social media being the new standard.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very easy to look at social media and they're the people that are getting the most noise because they are the most controversial. But actually, often, if you look in the comments of some of those posts, there are people going, this is ridiculous, or it's great that he's got all the money, but he's also abusive. Are we still saying it's great that she looked good, but she actually humiliates you around your people and reduces you as a man when you're out in public? Or that is all you're just there for the wallet. She don't care about nothing else about you. She don't invest in you in any way. What is the point? So for me, I think it's about it's not about what do I bring, but we're not having enough conversations of what can I give, what can I share, what can we do together? Because I'm okay for you to be ambitious and want to build and be successful, but what you're giving, are you also prepared to receive it? And I don't think many of us are okay with receiving it. And often that's why it's very external, it's very surface level, it's very image friendly, but we haven't actually been able to, in our own journey, and that's why I go back to, it's about the individuals as well as the pair and what relationship they're doing together, because on an individual level, you need to understand what you're missing, because often those behaviors come from, you're trying to fill a void. You didn't have a dad around to provide for you, so now this man has come with all this money and you were poor growing up. That's all you can see. When actually, if you do the work and you figure out that that is the void, then I can get to the other bits, the real, underlying. It might be you bullied when you were younger. Now power is a big thing. That sometimes shows up as you're a great leader in your relationship. In other times, you're a bully and you're abusive. So I think we need to kind of shift more to that individual self-discovery piece. And who am I and what do I want from a partner, and what does that look like, and what are the behaviors and characteristics that will be present in my relationship from that point onward.
I think on that point, from a mental health, but like not mental health, but from that perspective, yeah. I've had counselling. I've had to go and do work through, at times on myself to come back and be in our relationship, be a good mother, not a good mother, but be present as a mother in my house and present as a woman in our house, because there was stuff going on with myself. So I think that point around not shying away from the fact that actually sometimes it's good to go and work on yourself before you can show up for any other thing, whether it's the work, whether it's the relationship, whatever kind of relationship we're talking about. You really have to be, and it goes back to the point I made at the start, that foundation and who you are coming into this, because then once you've got that helps you navigate all of that noise you're hearing to know actually this is what I want to do and this is what I want to be.
Self-esteem is coming up a lot here. Self-esteem and self-worth and understanding that. And I do feel there's a lack of that out there, even though people are pretending that they've got that. So the traditions that we had growing up, like your mum would teach you how to cook, wash and clean and do all of those, are saying we're not actually doing that. We're not doing it like that. We don't want to be that traditional type of woman. I think that's something that we'd like to talk about. If that's not the type of woman you want to be, what is the type of woman you want to be? How are you going to negotiate having a family and not wanting to wash, cook and clean, in terms of how you develop that in your relationship? So I want to talk about some of the things that worked for us when we were growing up, like the traditions that we were given, like wash, cook, clean, even religion things that we watched our mothers do. Sometimes we look back on it and we think, oh, I'm never going to be like my mum. But something worked for that generation. And it perhaps might be working for this generation, because my mum taught me how to wash, cook and clean. And this is what you have to do to keep a man. And this is what you have to do in the home. And as I get older, yes, we change those rules and mix it up in your relationship, obviously. But there's some traditions that just seem to work. And I wonder if you young people are actually trying to throw some some traditions out, thinking that they're not going to work, when actually they might be the ones that work for you.
I definitely agree there needs to be more openness in general across the generations. But I think we are in a world now that is fueled by capitalism, and we like money. Whether we want to be around the bush or not, we like money. And quite frankly, things are more expensive now. In the UK, we're talking a lot about cost of living crisis. I don't think we can get away from that fact. We're also at a stage now in our own community, in the Black community, Black women make more money than Black men. So when we talk about traditional gender roles of the woman should stay home and cook and clean, and then you have the economic background that says things are more expensive and we need to live, we should be having conversations that say, I get it. You want to leave the household and be the provider, but I'm making double your income. Does it make sense that I don't work and you work just for the sake of your ego? What I think we should instead be talking about, rather than the traditional cook, clean, go out and make money, is actually how can you lead in the relationship when we're not talking about money? What are the characteristics? Because to me, good leadership is about assessing all the assets in your team. And your wife is one of the core roles in your team. So rather than saying, I'm the man and I should do this, and I'm the woman and you should do this, we should be saying, okay, we want XYZ financial goals. We want XYZ family goals. We want XYZ love goals. How are we going to come together and put a plan in action? Because
but is Kayla.
Yeah. No. Tell me.
Is that realistic? You know, you've got this chart up here going, this is our projection. This is where we're going. We see this moving forward, and this is how we go. But that's not how relationship starts. Relationship starts with, like, you meet a guy, he's sitting in the car, you don't even know what he wants to be yet. When we were younger, 100%. We didn't know what you wanted to be. You just sat down going, all I know is I want to be with you. And if I want to be with you, I'm going to work on how we're going to stay together. You get a job, you go to college, you go to uni, or you've got some money. Oh, I've got some money. It's like that. And I think that because you're projecting this, that, and the other, I think it's missing that foundation, which is
100%.
I just want to be with you, however we make that work.
I agree. But for me, the original question was about the legacy traditions and where we've shifted. And I think the cook, clean versus the provide and protect still has a place. It just looks different, and it's not solely bound to gender. We have more interracial relationships, more interfaith relationships, more homosexual relationships. So that in our society today, that does not work. Men and women, men making more money, women staying at home raising children. We've got couples saying we don't want children in our lifetime. So for me, all I'm saying is when we come together and we've got past the stage of, you know what, I want to be with you, when we're looking at, okay, I enjoy being around you and we're dating, to we're now in a committed relationship and I can see a long-term future with you, I think we shouldn't be bound by, well, previous generations have done X, Y, Z, so we should just follow their format. What we should say is, do you know what, this couple did this really well, they communicate really well, or this couple, they both worked and they kind of shared the childcare responsibilities like this. This couple, they didn't have a nanny, but do you know what, that woman had a mental breakdown and they should have got a nanny. Maybe we should get a nanny. So I think there is a bit of a Great, that works for everybody else. But to your point is I want to be with you. So what do we want in this relationship for us? And I think that's why I started with we need to be more open to all types of traditions. But I don't think it's right to say one way is right and one way is wrong. And just because we're doing it differently means that we've disregarded and disrespected everything. And I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but I just think we have to be really careful that our generation is not just we're not just younger. The society around us has completely changed. Technology has meant that we have more equal opportunities. Women are killing the game. Black women are more educated than ever. Go on.
In saying that, the thing that concerns me is that the one thing that I'm reading a lot about nowadays is mental health.
Yeah.
And comparison, which we know is the thief of the robber of joy.
Right.
And right now we are sitting down with people in the mainstream, the celebrities, who are all saying, with the money, with the nanny, with the big car, with everything, it's not working. I'd rather kill myself, because suicide is up. Suicide is up with people who have all the checklists. And that is the bit that's concerning me, is that people are saying, I want this and I want that and I want that. And they don't quite know why they want it or how they've earned it. Like we earn the shard. We never started dating at the shard. If you got into the shard, you were like, oh, this is nice. As opposed to we're meeting at the shard for the first date.
We're 16.
I would say, I would say you got a cheek. You got a cheek. If we're going to the shard, we're going to go to the toilet and go, oh, the toilets are nice, and run out.
Selfie. Don't forget the selfies. You go and have a little drink of water and you're taking selfies like you've had a big meal.
Do you know what I mean? It's a pressure that's mentally, I think, destroying relationships.
But that's my point around it needs to be me and my partner and the goals that we want for ourselves. And part of those conversations should be, okay, why is this important to you? Because some people want to make lots of money, not because Kanye West has lots of money, and that's a different conversation than a relationship completely, but because I was really poor growing up and I never want to be back there. So for me, earning lots of money is about security, it's about safety, it's about never having to worry about smelling nice or eating well. So actually, I think it's easy to say we just all going off the checklist, but I think I'd urge our generation to do that homework around, okay, we're saying we want this, but why do we want this? You want him to take you to the shard. Do you want him to take you to the shard, or do you want pretty pictures on Instagram so people can give you positive affirmations? What you really need is someone to sit down and listen to you and to tell you that you're beautiful and you deserve more, but you don't have that right now. So what you think is the cure is a man that's going to spend lots of money on you, and your friends are going to go, oh my God, you've got the dream relationship because you've got lots of money and pretty nails. So for me, it's about
and that's my point.
Yeah.
And that's the point that I'm trying to make as well. It's great to hear you say it, because those are the conversations that we need to have about what is it you're getting from it, and why do you think you want it? Are you thirsty for wine, but really you're thirsty because your body wants water? And it's a simple solution, as opposed to thinking that I need to go out there. And then what happens is that we can move on to this. I was reading about the good girl syndrome, good woman syndrome, and that women are now giving up on that good girl syndrome. Explain to me, what is good girl? True, what is good girl syndrome? When
I don't know, I was waiting for you to explain it.
I was hearing a lot about these girls who are not pleasing anymore. They're not playing that game anymore where they're pleasing people. They're just telling you as it is. They're not doing that soft girl.
So the good girl syndrome is essentially, I think the equivalent is like the church girl. She sits, cross her legs, she doesn't challenge, she just says yes, whatever you need. She goes to church every Sunday, she smiles, she's pretty, she's good.
Yeah.
Much younger, she goes to school, she gets good grades, she's reliable, And we're now saying as a generation, there are more women that are saying, that's nice for you, but I'm doing it my way. I'm not saying yes to you. I'm saying this is what I want. Or I'm saying, you can't step to me with just one rose. I want a bouquet of roses. So I think, again, much like most movements, I think that are happening now, there are two extremes. There's the extreme that are, well, I guess they're rebelling against the sexuality of the good girl and saying, I'm going to do whatever I want with my body, with my man, and you can't tell me, da, 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 da.
Is that like a baddie? Like a baddie?
Yes, an Instagram baddie. That's a perfect example. Then you've got the group that are saying, actually, we don't want to be in a relationship at all. I'm going to be single and rich. The 40-year-old auntie, the rich auntie. I'm just going to be rich by myself and I'll have a great time. I'm going to have lots of girlfriends around me and we're just going to live life. And if love comes into my life, great, but I'm not killing myself. I work too hard. I'm not stressing myself out. And then you've got the group that are saying, we're kind of the good girls, but we just don't want to do it traditionally. We don't want kids. We do want marriage, or we don't want marriage, but we do want kids. You know, they're kind of the in-between. So
I'm like, why are we having to put people in these boxes?
And this is another thing.
Why can we not just be? And it takes me back to the point around even like listening to you talk about traditional roles versus kind of as a couple deciding what you want versus it being the flip of the what you would expect, down to good girl versus, you know, I'm going to rebel. Why do we have to put ourselves in these little boxes with labels? It should be about, and you know, in raising Kayla and Aaron, you know, when we talk about roles, when we talk about how you show up for yourself and how you show up in a relationship, whether that's relationship in school, whether that's relationship at work, whether that's relationship with a one-to-one with your partner, it should always be about that transparency and that what is it we want for our relationship, what is it we want and what is right for us. And it does worry me. It does worry me that we've got so much labeling and putting ourselves in box, because that is what causes the mental you know, the morale and the pressure and the things where you feel like you're not meeting that label that's come from. No, who's giving you the label? Pressure. Who's giving you the label? Like, who's giving you that? And you know, I say that because I've fallen down, not fallen down, but I've been in a position where I am worried more than I should be about the external kind of factor, what people might think, or, you know, so sometimes I wish I was the bad girl and I wish I'd be like, Chuck, I'm going to get on and do what I want to do. It's my decision. I'm making it for me. Forget you. I know what is the circumstances in which I'm making this decision. But there are other times where I might not be feeling as confident, or I might be influenced by expectations of other people. And I think traditionally sometimes that's where that comes from. You know, Jazz, oh, you know, your husband's such a good man. Like, why, you know, are you making sure you, and I'm like, excuse me, I'm hustling just as hard. Just because I'm not, look, you know, people don't see me every day doesn't mean I'm not hustling as hard and having to. So we do, and he is very supportive. We are having those conversations behind closed doors. So I think that the mental health perspective is really, really important thing to bring out here, and the impact of being put and thinking about these labels or these titles that you're going to be putting on yourself as individuals, no matter what your gender, no matter what your age. It's really, really worrying to me that we're in a world where, you know, these types of labels are flying about, and actually people are operating, it feels from what I'm hearing, to kind of meet up to this label of being a good girl or a bad girl, or, you know, and that is quite worrying to me.
And I think, Trudy, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I was having a conversation similar to this with my dad, and it wasn't in the about relationships, but it was about like just philosophy. And he said to me, life doesn't need this much scrutiny. Like, that will drive you insane if you're always looking at labels, you're looking at titles where you fit in a box. That's a prison that you've just created yourself for yourself to live. And but
That's what
it
social
is a
media has
balance.
done.
Yeah, it
That's
really
what social media has done, and social media culture and trend culture has done. Because I think what's worse than us moving and shifting to reach a label, what happens now when the label is not trendy? I think
Yeah.
we're starting to see it with BBLs now.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to go and risk their life to look like Kim Kardashian when, quite frankly, you look like Kim Kardashian before Kim
Why are we
Kardashian
going
was
there?
Kim Kardashian. No, but I think it has to be said.
It's true.
And now Kim Kardashian doesn't want to look like Kim Kardashian anymore, and she wants to remove whatever. And I'm
Kim
not. She
Kardashian,
doesn't have surgery,
Kim
but she
Kardashian
wants to
don't even
lose
know
the
what she looks
weight.
like.
Right. And now everyone's going, oh, I should remove it. But people have died because they are literally trying to keep up. Or the good girls, the natural girls, have killed themselves because they feel like they can't keep up. Because so for me, that's the bigger issue with the labels and social media and wanting to fit into a box and not being authentic.
Because
When
they
someone
leave
turns
you.
around and says, exactly, when someone turns around and says, actually, we don't want you anymore, your last season, what do you do with yourself? You built a whole life around, some people built whole careers around being Instagram baddies. Then the natural trends came out. You never heard from them again because they had an aesthetic rather than a true life. So,
And that's the big worry. I'm glad you brought that up, because when fashion does change, it's like when, Beyonce was saying, all the single ladies when she was with Jay-Z,
mad. Like when you say that, I'm like, raw. What's the point?
And that's right. And then you've got Cardi B with the most disgusting, nasty lyrics, right? And I say this, and because I can't stand the lyrics. I find it. I go so far as to call it demonic, because it's like a dog whistle to a behaviour that they sometimes are not behaving like. They've got security when they go home. They can walk the streets half naked and get into a car with security. You've gone and done it, and you're at the bus stop, and you're attracting something that isn't something that you could actually handle. And that's worrying me. When you put something in your backside or you put something in your breast and you walk around the street going, okay, I can't take it out. When Black China was talking about, I've taken my breast out, I've taken my BBL, I've taken it out now, I feel so much better. Half the girls who followed you can't take it out because they can't afford it.
Or they died.
Or they go to
trying to get there in the first place.
And then they die. So those are the things that I think, whilst it's a great influence, I would like younger girls to be thinking, how does that affect me? Oprah years ago had this thing called the 3 5s. How does it affect me in 5 minutes? How does it affect me in 5 years? How does it affect me in, was it 5 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days? And it's all the fives. How does it affect me in the next 5? Because that's the thing. Your friends are going to leave you, because half these friends that are hanging around you right now are going, yeah, do that, sleep with him, do that. They haven't done it. They're not going to do it. And then when it goes wrong, they go, see you later. Guess what? I'm off to marry. You see the quiet guy that works for the London Transport? He's nice.
It's me.
He's nice. He's a nice guy. You know what I mean? And I can build with him and I can become this person. And he doesn't want me to be this person. He doesn't want me to be this sexual person. The sexuality comes into play. Ladies, some of the things that them women are saying that they're doing, they're not doing it. They're lying. And when they say they want it to be this long or this whatever, the womb cannot take it.
Hi, Angie.
It's not real. Like, calm down.
It's true.
Because everybody's gone home to go, wait a minute. And they go, no, physically, it's not proper, it's not human. Some of the things that you're thinking that you want, it's not human. It will kill you first.
Yeah.
Literally, similar to BBLs, there are enlargement surgeries for that exact thing. It's ridiculous to me. I just think it's ridiculous to the point where you can be so, and again, I laugh when you said, we talked a little bit about that who cares attitude. I have it to the bone. I don't business. It just doesn't make sense to me why you would ever want someone that you've never met to have an opinion. Like even commenting is very, very, very rare. I comment on someone's post that I don't know to say happy, even if I do know you, unless I'm saying happy birthday or congratulations or well done. I just cannot fathom why people would go out of their way to say negative things about the way someone looks or the way someone, whatever. And then for you to read that and think, oh my gosh, I must change this and I must change that.
Yeah.
Because they're going to go to sleep at night and not even think twice. You know,
Right.
like they're not even going to think twice. And I bet you any money, if you saw them in the street, they'd be going, oh well, I
Yeah. I think
I mean, I like you anyway.
yeah, exactly. Or actually, they want to look like you. That's why they said it in the first place. They really want to be you. And instead of saying,
And that's why you've got to be careful. You've got to be careful how you process information. Like you look at something and you go, someone's taken a picture of this, it's not theirs. And you now have gone to kill yourself to get something that they don't even have.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's the going back. It's the going back to what is the, you know, the root cause of why people are led by some of this stuff that to us, we're like, really? Like, how are you following? Like, why are you in this? And I think there is an underlying kind of thing here that it needs, I don't know, there's some intervention or something that's needed to help people be in that position to be able to make that judgment or to be able to make the choice and go, actually, yes, that's good to look at and laugh at, but that ain't going to be me because I know reality is that's not reality. Because there's too many people who follow these things. For me, I'm like, it just doesn't make sense. And there is an underlying root cause to this in the community. You know, Kayla, I'm part of the crew who helped raise you and instill that confidence in you so that you can sit there and say, why do I care? There are some people that are, you know, for whatever reasons, single mothers working all the God hours God sent to put a roof over their heads and put food on the table, or abusing substances, or in an abusive relationship where they've not had that guidance around them as they've grown up. So I think there is an air of, like, we just need to think about, there is a community out there that are not as privileged as we are in terms of what we've had around us to get us to this point and to get us to this privilege of having this conversation here today, to be frank. So I think there's definitely that's another thing where it's like, what is it and how are we engaging in the communities to help those individuals that are not fortunate enough to have that security and that support, and those people empowering them and pushing you to be confident in yourself in their home.
I'm going to model the behavior. Sorry, go on.
No, go on, Kayla.
I was just going to say, I'm going to model the intergenerational advice model. What would you say to somebody who doesn't feel secure in themselves? What have you used, or what tools have you lent on and leveraged when you felt like you haven't got it all together, or you're not feeling confident, or people are just telling you all sorts of things and your head is just not in the game? What have you done throughout your life to kind of check yourself and get you back right?
I would say for me, I think growing up, I grew up in the church. And so I was always like around praying, and I was around focus, and I was around women who perhaps weren't in the game that I'm in. And so the one or two friends that you will have that can ground you and that really like you and really want you to win. You surround you. I've been around women like that, but I've always kind of I like my own company first. I like me, and I've had to get to like being around people. People think, you know, you're social. This, I'm not. I'm quite happy here. I like to think about how it makes me feel, how it makes somebody else feel, and even when you've been kind of like excluded from things, and how that's made you feel like, well, maybe you've got no worth, but really had to look at other people and go, well, maybe you've got no worth. Maybe it's nothing to do with me. And maybe I'm not that thing that you're trying to make me out to be. So really, I would say for myself, I don't know about you, Jasmine, but I've actually just kind of like, based on the fact that my mum always was in my ear going, what is for you can't be for you. Do you know what I mean? If it's yours, it's yours. If it's not, leave it alone. It's not your business. So those things have kept me, rather than the media pressure. Remember, we've not had that.
Mm.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely the friends and the few friends. I've never been part of a big friendship group. Yes, I was the one in the middle of the rave doing the Running Man or whatever the dance was in at the time.
That's where I get it from.
Even today, I love a rave. I love a rave because for me, that's my, along with step, that's my happy place when I'm just like, listen, nobody come there. I can rave by myself. But I
Yeah.
think there's certain friends through different stages of your, because you have friends when you're like primary, obviously, but not as much things to be talking about then. Then
Yeah.
navigating secondary school, there was a small 2 or 3 friends who were my go-tos, like leaving school, going into work, and my true sister friend now has been there every step of the way. And whilst my mum is there for certain things, but for these deep like things that you're like, I'm not quite sure if that's the one to have the conversation with my mum. It was definitely my friend Jackie, who is the person that she would actually check. She knew me so well, she would check me and be like, Jazz, you're being stupid, love. Like, stop it right now. Like, you need to rethink that, and would be honest with me. And for me, it was that, and that's how I kind of worked out who was the person I wanted to be beside that person that I didn't. We were talking about this the other day, Kayla. The person that you can see them every single day, you could not see them for 3 months, and
Deep
then when you
friendships,
talk to them, it's
Back
just
together
like no, it's like
yesterday.
not, it's like we were young again in the middle, So
Yeah.
it's those type of friends that I've had throughout my journey, where when I've just felt like, oh my gosh, like I don't want this relationship to end, but I just can't see the other side. I need another opinion, or oh, I'm really worried about this financial situation. How can I navigate? There was those people, and now I'm fortunate to say I have my husband alongside me, who is that person that I can turn to when I'm like, babes, I don't know where I'm going at, or with work, this is what, and he's ready to have that dialogue. Back to the point earlier, to negotiate, okay, what do we need to do so you've got the support you need. So that through my life, it's been having those key people who have helped me just stay on track, and sometimes just sit there and cry with me when I needed to cry, for quite frankly.
And I think maybe that's the key, because when you were saying that, I was thinking of Ebony. She's that person that will just say, Kayla, get it together. Or, Kayla, stop being, why are you so hard on yourself? You've got this, you've always had it. Stop letting people just. And then I think also to your point around why don't we listen to the older generations, when you have that foundation of where that 3 o'clock phone call, if you can't have that 3 o'clock phone call with that person, you can't give them unsolicited advice unless they come to you and ask. Because what happens is, when you come and give that information, I don't know what your intention is. And I'm going to assume, if I'm coming from that place of low self-worth, I'm usually going to be on a defense, and we're never going to be able to connect. Where if we can build that relationship, and I know, so if Ebony said to me, Kayla, you're looking a bit like, do we really want to do this? I know it's because she genuinely believes that what I'm doing is a mistake. And it's not because she wants to be like me, or she's trying to throw me off my game, or she's jealous of me, or she wants to tear me down. It's because it's coming from a real place of love and friendship. I think that's not just a peer-to-peer thing. It's also throughout the generations. I need to trust, similar, I think we were saying this last week, if my mum said to me, or my gran said to me, Kayla, just fix up, I know it's not because you're talking down to me, or you're telling me off, or you're just angry that you didn't have the freedom that you wish that you had when you were younger. It's because you genuinely want to guide me onto the right path. And I trust that you also can be held accountable to being on the right path, because similar, everything Ebony says to me, I can say to Ebony and she'll go, yeah, you're right. Where I don't think that's always the case when we talk about intergenerationally, because if I turn around to you and said, you know what, the way you spoke to me when you were disciplining me was actually unacceptable. You tell me I'm feisty and I'm too bright. When you don't know how to communicate. You don't know how to communicate. So I think
And the thing is,
I know. When you hurt your chest, didn't it? You hurt your chest a little bit.
when you say you don't know how to communicate back, that's when you go,
You see? You see, it has to be mutual. It has to be mutual.
But it's like and it does, and you have that conversation with your children. You open that, say, talk to me, be honest, and I'll be honest with you. And sometimes I understood why my parents used to say, "Me and you's not size," because after a while, it's like you can't come back to me and say this because you don't quite know what I'm negotiating to get this, what I've been through. We've paved the way for you to get through easier, but we had to do a lot of things. Sometimes it was to bite our lip and go, let me just chill here, because now it's a confrontational moment. It's one of those, okay. And I think that's really what I wanted to kind of get from the conversation with younger girls about relationship, which is don't give away too much. Because you can't don't give away what you can't afford to lose.
Yeah.
Especially on social media now, you put so much information out there, and I worry, because I think it's making people pull back, because I think now the world sees me like that, when really it's only about 40 people who have seen it. But in your mind it's blown out of proportion. So that
Again,
really
I think, sorry.
No, go.
For me, that again is a privileged thing to say. Like, I don't think everyone knows what they're losing when they're losing it. I don't think I can say that. Like, I know if I put out a certain visual and I get a certain amount of attention, and what that does for my choices, it changes my choices. I won't say it limits my choices, because I think, again, that kind of falls into the judgment category, but it will change my trajectory regardless. And I have to just deal with those consequences. But that's because I have a relationship with my mother. I have a relationship with the women in my life where we can really assess what that means. But not everybody has that. So we're doing this right now. We're just hustling. We're just making money. We feel good. No one's thinking 5 years to the rule of fives, 5 months, it's what is going to be trending right now. Because really, in 20 minutes, there's going to be a new trend. So actually, we don't even feel the consequences, because even cancel culture, we cancel somebody tomorrow, then they come out with a new product and we still buy the product. So even when we see people get publicly humiliated within 2 months, I bet you can't even remember what we were originally. Why did we even cancel them in the first place? But so for me, it's like that's the power of having those conversations intergenerationally, because we understand the context. But often when we have those conversations, we don't give the context, or we're not given the context. We're just told, don't do that, because I told you so, accept it. Our generation is saying, we don't care. I'm going to verify it with Google, and Google, Instagram, Facebook, and everybody else is going to tell me, you do you. So I'm going to do me. And I think that's the bit that we need to add the color to the black and white.
Yes.
And we don't always do that. Or we don't always do it well anyway.
True. Do you want to say anything before we end?
I was actually going to say, on the other hand, like growing up and getting to like 25, there's the context. You live your life and then the context gets filled out for you. So then you go, oh, that's why mommy do this. So I guess it's one of those things where you have to just live and you learn. You can't give as much advice as someone has to live out. They have to see it for themselves.
And I think that's the thing that comes to the conclusion, is that our parents did tell us certain things and we did still do them, and then still went, okay, I just don't want some of the things to be so damaging, soul damaging, that you feel like you can't get back from. I think you can get back from most places, you just have to work your way back. But it's to stay safe. One of the things, to stay safe and not watch social media too much and put your life out there like that. Because remember, Kardashians changed their mind. They said, oops, we don't want these thick lips again. Oops, we don't want this bottom again, because we don't want to wear nappies, look like we're wearing nappies anymore.
And to add on to the point that you just said, because you always say to me, there's nothing that you could do that will make me just, turn my back on you, or something to that effect. But I really want people to think like that more in this generation, because they do think like black and white, 100% or 0%. So they'll see I'm failing here, I have to end it, or I have to stop this. And it's like, no, there's always change around the corner. There's always hope. So that's what
And,
you're.
and to end this, yeah, and to end it on your dark, I saw a quote the other day, your darkest experience could be your biggest testimony.
Yeah.
And if you hold hope in everything, you
That
know
is.
that you can come to me with anything. I'll fight for you for everything. I'll go with you. Do you know what I mean? I'm your girl. I'm your girl. And I would like for girls out there who don't have mothers who could listen to this and go, maybe I don't have a mother that will say that to me, but I can find a sister friend who could say that for me.
Absolutely.
I hope they find their champion.
And just to be clear, it's a two-way thing.
Yeah.
It's a two-way thing. Like, I still have to tell myself sometimes, Jazz, you are enough.
Mm.
You know, and it's often my daughters, they're going, Mum.
I was just gonna say you are.
She's the one
You
pushing me,
is.
going, Mum, excuse
Yeah.
me. You know, so it's a two-way thing. And I think, you know, we do try and help and guide, and because we've been there, to Angie's valid point, it's a two-way thing, because I'm learning now how to kind of lean into that, you know, person that is enough, you know. So that confidence thing is absolutely key, and you are enough, and you owe yourself, before you get distracted by the noise, to invest in yourself, because that is the key.
Absolutely. And that's the key that we're going to end it on for this session. And wow, that was powerful. Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
So join us next week, mother and daughters. We're going at it again because we've got a lot to talk about. Thank you.